Revolutionary greetings. Your boy Haki Shakur coming back at you once again with a dope topic that I want to drop. Spark off 2019. Let's get it in. First, let me give my salutations. All praises due to the Abba El Haj Saladin Shakur. All praises due to the Igbo Ichi ancestors, blood known and unknown that pumps through these veins. And all praises due to all our revolutionary freedom fighters and all our ancestors, man. It's 400 years. We're in 2019 from when the first Africans was brought here from the coast off of Angola and brought here to the shores of North America, specifically Point Comfort, Hampton, Virginia. So let's get salutations out to those ancestors. So being that this is a sacred year and a historical year of our ancestors being brought here in the transatlantic slave trade, and I thought it was only right that I'd be touching on a lot of topics dealing with, ancestors that were brought here from Africa. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's important to keep commemorating them and paying homage to them and just putting out a lot of information as possible, man, to keep uplifting those new African ancestors. Because we all know we got a lot of weirdo stuff going on throughout the conscious community. You got a bunch of cats running around here denying their ancestral roots, denying their ancestral blood, which is cool. That's them. That's not us. In the New African Independence Movement, that's not us. You know what I'm saying? We embrace all our ancestors, no matter who you are. You from the continent, you indigenous, it doesn't matter. You all our ancestors, you know what I'm saying? So that's how we're going to rock. That's what a New African is. You see what I'm saying? So, we know we got a lot of stuff in our blood. Most of us. Some of us are more close to our African ancestral blood lineages than others due to, the dehumanization and the criminal acts of the white European settlers that came here. And, also, with our, our brothers and sisters of the indigenous native nations, so you know how that went, you know what I'm saying? So we ain't got to really elaborate on that too much. So this video is called The African Presence in North America. I'm going to do North America first, then I'm going to come back and probably do a part 2. But I wanted to, specifically speak on the African presence in North America because that directly affects New Africans. You know what I'm saying? So this is the New African presence in America. I'm going to be specifically talking about a few, Africans, you know what I'm saying? Let's just go put it out there and certain things and certain, because we already know about the slave rebellions. A lot of us are starting to learn about the slave rebellions, and if you don't know, a lot of those slave rebellions were led by different Africans from different places off the west coast of Africa, and Africans who was brought from the Caribbean islands, specifically Haiti, and then a lot of these rebellions were specifically led by Africans, man. That's just pure facts. Our native brothers, indigenous brothers also, led most of these, slave rebellions also, they was, fighting against the capitalist system of slavery. But bottom line, a lot of these slave rebellions were led by pure-blooded Africans or, mixed Africans. Because, like I said, you got to keep throwing the European in there from the rape that he committed on our women. But just gonna be specifically talking about things that I want to talk about that needs to be directly put out there on the African presence in America, like evidence. You see what I'm saying? That our ancestors always identified with being African, and they always identified and never forgot where they came from, which is Africa, West Africa, Central Africa. You know what I'm saying? Specifically. You see what I'm saying? It's evidence all across North America of these great African ancestors, man. During slavery and after slavery. But I'm specifically talking about during slavery. You know what I'm saying? I want to point that out. You know what I'm saying? Of these great African ancestors and how they always wanted to continue to identify with being their African selves from their African nations and their African tribal bloodlines. You see what I'm saying? In a couple of areas specifically I'll be talking about is Africa, Mississippi, Timbuktu, New Jersey, Africa, Ohio. You see what I'm saying? A lot of y'all might not know about those. Africa Town, the Great Dismal Swamp. You see what I'm saying? Fort Mose, San Miguel, Duguaple. You know what I'm saying? The Suwannee River settlements, New Guinea, the Blue Ridge, Appalachian, Maroons, Gullah, Geechee nations. You see what I'm saying? Specifically, you know, those are the areas and Africans I'm gonna be speaking on. And last but not least, the Igbo presence in America is another great people to study and to understand and research on their African presence here in North America, man. You know what I'm saying? So let me just go ahead and hop on into it. And, I don't want to make these videos long. I'm gonna try to keep these videos between 10 minutes and 17 minutes long, so you won't have to, sit here at a long period of time. So that's what I'm doing in 2019. And let me shout out to his great ancestors since it's 400 years, and we demand reparations for the tyrannical, terroristic acts taking place on our ancestors, which is, all types of things, slave breeding, and most specifically, the murder and genocide of our African ancestors, man. So let me give a shout out to this sister that was lynched by the name of Laura Nelson, who was lynched in Oklahoma. Dope t-shirt. Her and her son were lynched in 1911 by some racist rednecks. You know what I'm saying, in Oklahoma. So I just want to send a shout out to the spiritual memory. I'm going to be rocking this shirt a lot during the 400-year commemoration of 2019 of this great sister who was lynched right along with her son in Oklahoma in 1911. So research Laura Nelson, man. Don't forget that sister. Let me hop right on into it, man. The African presence in North America, man. Let me just put this out here straight up, man. I know a lot of cats want to deny the African roots, but at the end of the day, you're going to get this work and understand that you have African ancestors here that you must commemorate, man. Simple as that. Being one is that, come on, man. You may identify with being indigenous. That's cool. You may identify with being aboriginal. But let's give salutations to our African ancestors, man, who put up, tremendous resistance against white supremacy and the colonial settlers in the European nations, man. Let's give salutations to these great ancestors, man. You might not claim the African identity, but let's recognize their existence. You see what I'm saying? And if you don't, it don't matter. You see what I'm saying? But these Maroons, we know these Maroons are African. Facts. North American Maroons are Africans. Period. So I want to specifically, start off with the Africa, Mississippi. A few of y'all might have seen this picture. I'm gonna post it again, but it's a picture of a highway sign in Mississippi and near Clarkson, Mississippi, that says New Africa Road. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people want to know why is that called New Africa Road? It's right down the highway. Once you leave Tennessee and you heading towards Mississippi, when you get close to Clarksdale, Mississippi, you will see this sign called New Africa Road. Well, the reason it's called New Africa Road is because the first settlers of that area were Africans. You see what I'm saying? They was right off the Great Mississippi, off the great swamps, off the banks of the Mississippi. You see what I'm saying? These first settlers came in this area around the 1870s and the 1880s. And at that time, we also gotta, respect the indigenous peoples who was in that area at that time. Also, the Chickasaw and the Choctaw. You see what I'm saying? So, these Africans that settled this region, they were Maroons, and they were very resistant at that time and period. They also helped the Choctaw and Chickasaw and other, indigenous peoples at that time and period to fight off the slave masters. You see what I'm saying? And fight off slave patrols and fight off the capitalist system of slavery in that area. The land was built up. Over time, it became New Africa Road and Africa community over time. So if you haven't, I'm gonna put these links and stuff in the description box as well. The first Africans to settle this region of Clarksdale, near Clarksdale, Mississippi, New Africa, Africa, Mississippi. Go look that up, man. Dope history. Other evidence that the African presidents in North America is Timbuktu, New Jersey. During slavery in the early 1820s, these Africans who, by the way of the Underground Railroad, made their way and their escape to northern North America, which is New Jersey, New York, and areas of that Pacific time period. These great ancestors made it to that area, and they decided to name this community, and this is the early 1820s, they decided to name this community Timbuktu, the great Timbuktu and Malian people of that period in time. And we all know these great ancestors in Mali were, Muslims. So let's give credit what credit is due. Let's give credit to those great Muslim ancestors, of the sciences of Islam. If you know what true Islam is about, the African tradition of Islam. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people got to understand. A lot of these African ancestors that were brought here in slavery were Muslims. So let's just put that out there, man. You know what I'm saying? And these great Muslims from Timbuktu, we know the extensive, massive libraries in Timbuktu. So these great ancestors that made it to New Jersey in that time and period decided to commemorate that and to continue to, uplift their African identity, call this area Timbuktu, New Jersey. Go Google that. Go look that up. Timbuktu, New Jersey is a real incorporated town in North America. Moving on. Africa, Ohio. Some more great ancestors between the period of the 1840s and 1850s. These great ancestors escaped slavery from North Carolina, and they made their way to Ohio. And when they got to Ohio, and they set up and settled in this area, they called this over time they developed this community, cultivated this community, and it was later on given the name Africa. Also, just like Africa, Mississippi, this is Africa, Ohio. See, there's a pattern. You see, it's a pattern. Wherever these great ancestors go, they made sure to keep to keep their identity intact. You see what I'm saying? They never let slavery detach them from the land, the sacred ancestral land that they came from. You see what I'm saying? This is all through periods of time. You can, because I know I ain't gonna have much time to talk about them all, but all through the periods of time of slavery, you're gonna see these Colombos, these sacred new African communities, and settlements popping up all over the South. This is why we call the South New Africa. You see what I'm saying? Because it's evidence of African ancestors who always stuck to their African traditional ways of nationhood, sovereignty. You see what I'm saying? Everywhere they go, they try to liberate the land. These are land people. You see what I'm saying? They always, like I'm always saying, these great ancestors, if they couldn't get back to Africa, they wanted their own Africa on North American soil. This is facts. You see what I'm saying? It's documented all through history. Even in most of these slave rebellions, it's documented. You see what I'm saying? Moving right along. You got Africa Town, which is in Alabama, which is the last evidence of the last Africans who were brought over here. And from what I heard, I hear Common Sense supposed to be making a movie about these great ancestors in Mobile, Alabama, who named this town Africa Town. You see what I'm saying? Then you have in South Carolina, or the Spanish colony at the time, you had the ancestors in San Miguel de Guayaquil. And they had one of the first slave rebellions on North American soil. And they lived side by side with the I can't say it, Gullah settlements in South Carolina. The indigenous Gullah people in South Carolina. So this is what I'm saying. We have always lived side by side with indigenous native peoples. You see what I'm saying? You can do this research, whether it's the Washita, the Yamasees, indigenous peoples. You go to these areas and you research this history, you will always see that Africans were always either escaping slavery and heading to these areas beside these indigenous nations. And when they got to these indigenous nations, these indigenous people gave them land. And they also went to certain parts of North America and set up old settlements on those lands that became their lands. This is fact. You got the Suwannee River settlements. These were independent, sovereign African villages and communities off the Suwannee River, not indigenous nations, not indigenous peoples. These were African runaway Gullah Maroons who went to Florida and set up their own new African independent Colombo communities. Facts. And they fought alongside the Seminole Nation. Some of them became a part of the Seminole Nation. But a lot of them maintained their own African identity and set up their own African villages off of that. Moving on, in Virginia, so many Africans were being imported in Virginia at the time and period that the governor of that time, or the Lord, because they even, because the British and the English and the North Americans, you know what I'm saying, that would come to be, they had governors and lords. So the governor issued a warning that the Africans that they were bringing into the English colony of Virginia were organizing together to, and so many mass numbers of them was bringing into Virginia that they started to outnumber the European colonialists and the European slave plantation owners and Europeans, period. You see what I'm saying? That they labeled that they were trying to start up a new country in Virginia called New Guinea. This warning was put out. This is documented facts. New Guinea. These Africans were coming from West Africa, still trying to maintain their identity by calling it New Guinea. New Guinea, Virginia. You see what I'm saying? This is real facts. Then you have the Blue Ridge, Appalachian Maroons, who also at this time and period was in the Maroon. We had Maroon settlements all across the Blue Ridge Mountains, man. Facts. Appalachian Mountains. Facts. From Virginia all the way to Georgia, man. And into the deep middle South states. You see what I'm saying? All across there. Pure facts. You see what I'm saying? And John Brown found this so interesting that he wanted to also set up more maroon settlements in the Blue Ridge Mountains when he was going to smash the capitalist system of slavery of Virginia, period, with the black raiders, and he was going to get these Africans to go to the Blue Ridge Mountains and set up communities and Colombos there to continue to spark the rebellion on capitalist system of slavery during his raid in Harper's Ferry, Virginia. This is well-known facts, documented facts. They was going to set up Blue Ridge independent settlements and statehood up in the mountains of Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. Facts. But they already had Maroons in those mountains that were Africans. And some of them was indigenous peoples also. But there was known Africans. They got so deep up in the Blue Ridge Mountains that the United States and the Confederate States at different periods of times, when these two nations, European nations, were sparking, wars against these Maroons, that they ran some of those Maroons out of the Blue Ridge Mountains because they didn't want them in the mountains of the Blue Ridge Mountains. The Gullah Geechee Nation, another prime example of the African presence in North America. I ain't even really got to talk about them too much. We already know about the Gullah Geechee Nation and where they come from, Angola, Sierra Leone, and places like that. You see what I'm saying? The Gullah Geechee Nation. Moving right along. You know what I'm saying? Before I close this video, the most prominent evidence of African presence in North America at this time and period, and I know a lot of y'all have never heard of this before, so that's why I'm happy to be presenting it to you. I don't know how many of y'all ever heard of the Ogam alphabet or the Ogam petroglyphs of North America. And what the Ogam, and something is pronounced Ugam too, or Ogam. I prefer to say Ogam. The Ogam petroglyphs, West Virginia, Wyoming, is some of the early evidence of the African presence in North America. Now, some of this is pre-slavery. You see what I'm saying? And during slavery. You see what I'm saying? And what these Ogam petroglyphs look like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna see if I can pull something up real quick to show y'all, just to show y'all a little example of what I'm talking about. Yeah, let me go to the pictures so I can show y'all what these petroglyphs look like. and what the Ogam look like. Okay, here we go. Let me show you. Let me get a good picture. Because I just want y'all to see what these ancient petroglyphs look like. I just want y'all to see exactly what they look like. Hold on. Trying to get it. Hold on. I'm going to put all this information on there when I upload this video. So you ain't got to worry about it. I'm going to be on point with it. Let me see. This is real deep here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if y'all can see that on my phone. I'm trying to put it close as I can. See those lines? See those lines going through the that's written on the wall? And this is in West Virginia. These is carved in on West Virginia walls. Matter of fact, they call it Horse Creek petroglyphs in Boone County, West Virginia. And what they look like is what, that proves the African presence in African America. They look just like, matter of fact, they are the same scratches and lines that's in that are the Ichi scarification of the Igbo people. Facts. If you go Google the Ichi scarification and see what they look like on some of these great ancestors' faces from Igbo land and Biafra land in Nigeria. They like lines that are cut in their face. Scarf, you can call them tattoos if you want to, but they call scarifications. And they are, ancient symbols of an ancient language and ancient symbolism of the cosmos. Because these Ichi symbols represent the sun and the moon. So it's astronomical significance and spiritual significance also with these Ichi scarifications. And so these Ichi scarification lines over time started popping up all over Europe, in different parts and different continents all across this globe, specifically North America and South America. But I'm talking about North America. These Ogam petroglyphs are all across North America in the South, in the Midwest. You see what I'm saying? So they also have ties to also the nsibidi alphabet and the nsibidi language of the ancient Igbo people. And I'm going to show you another picture real quick. Take a look at that. These are also like, Igbo nsibidi alphabets and symbols. And a lot of people don't understand that nsibidi and the Ichi scarification are the oldest on this planet, man, coming out of West Africa. You see what I'm saying? This is like the most ancient, alphabet and language of the oldest DNA people on this planet, which come out of West Africa. Facts. This is from the Aqua Neri peoples. They, originated this Ichi Ogam alphabet and language. And see, this is the thing with North Americans and European scholarship that we must start debunking is this. They try to claim that it was the Irish who came over here and put these Ogam petroglyphs all on these walls, which we know is a damn lie. Why? Because we even know if you're talking about anything Irish or Celtic, it originated with the Igbo people, the Dorse. You see what I'm saying? Which, come out of Central Africa and West Africa, which we know as to be the first Igbo peoples who crossed over into Europe and settled Ireland. We know the first Irish people are Africans. You see what I'm saying? Igbo people. Because the Igbo people have Kwa ancestors. The Kwa ancestors are the Pygmies. The Pygmies that came out of Central Africa. You see what I'm saying? So now we talking some real deal now. You see what I'm saying? So we can't give these Europeans that credit. When we know that this language, nsibidi, and the Ichi scarifications are the oldest on this planet. Facts. And these ancestors settled in Europe. You see what I'm saying? This is where you get the all this mythology with the Irish people. You know what I'm saying? With the you know what I'm talking about with the you know, the Irish good luck and all those type of things. You know what I'm saying? Those were Igbo people. So this is showing you evidence that the Igbo people are those first Africans who brought this Ogam to North America. It's all across North America, man. You know what I'm saying? And let me show you also this other script that I got that I want to show you to make the Igbo connection even more deeper. Let me show you this picture of the great Catherine Ocholuno out of her blog called the Kush Ishi Obatala, the inventor of the Ogam by Catherine Ocholuno. Now take a look at this. These are the Ichi scarifications of the ancient Igbo people and their ancestors, the Kwa ancestors, the Pygmies, and all the first ancestors that came from Central Africa and West Africa, the oldest DNA on this planet, period. This is where these indigenous people in America, North America, South America, Caribbean islands, I don't care where they was at, these are their ancestors, African. You see what I'm saying? Let me show you some more. Look at that. If you can see it, on their faces is the Ichi Igbo scarifications, all on their body, tattooed all on their body, all in their head, all in their face. And so, this is the diagram. These are petroglyphs in North America now, like all on the cave walls. You'll find these petroglyphs everywhere. I'm gonna post pictures and everything of this. And Catherine, the great ancestor Catherine Ocholono specifically put out a book called They Lived Before Adam. Key, they lived before Adam. This great ancestor and this great woman was telling you that Africans predated biblical books and biblical history, period. This is what the great ancestor and scholar Catherine Ocholono was telling y'all all along, that Igbo people and other great African civilizations who predate the Bible, they predate any religious rhetoric, they predate Islam, they predate all that madness. You see what I'm saying? And we have evidence all across this planet, which is the Ogam, which descends from the oldest alphabets and the oldest writing system in history that comes from the Igbo people. Pure facts. And this Ogam can be found all over North America. Anywhere, all the way to Wyoming. You see what I'm saying? Also, we have these Igbo Ideograms that's written on tombstones all through Virginia in Amherst, Virginia County. They found tombstones of Igbo ancestors with cosmological, spiritual, astrological symbols like stars, the sun, which is basically nsibidi symbols. Nsibidi symbols. And I'm going to post that also after I upload this video. And after y'all see this video, I'm going to hide my... I always post sources. So I'm going to hide the sources and everything so y'all can see what these Igbo Ideograms look like also. They all on tombstones in Amherst County, Virginia. And also, the Igbo people were the first people in North America to cross the Gap Gateway between Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, and settle this region called the Great Gap Gateway. Research it. Go look it up, man. This is real in-depth history, man, of African presence in North America. You know what I'm saying? So, on that note, you cannot remove the African presence in North America. I don't care how much you identify with Aborigine. I don't care how much you identify with indigenous peoples. You want to call yourself indigenous people, that's on you. But I'm not going to deny my African blood lineage. I'm not going to, deny my African ancestry, man. Can't do it. Refuse to do it. It's too much great history, great facts that Africans were and are a part of building this country up, man. Period. 400 years. And also, other evidence that you can research on African presence in North America is the spiritual systems. How come the majority of melanated black people all across the Caribbean islands, South America, North America, why are these people still practicing African spiritual systems? Ifa, Afa, Obia, Voodoo, even New African Hoodoo and Hoodoo, all that stuff is direct spiritual systems that manifest from African spiritual systems from West Africa, man, and Central Africa. And we all know that voodoo is the oldest science on earth. Alpha is the oldest science on earth. This is what Islam and all those type of scientific, if you're talking about scientific Islam and things of that nature, all this stuff descends from and manifests from voodoo and Ifa, Alpha, the Congo divination systems. You see what I'm saying? Why Santeria? All these great, the Haitian voodoo, the Dominican Puerto Rican voodoo. Why are these black people still practicing spiritual systems if they're not Africans? Why are they practicing African spiritual systems? Why are they present all through history? Even in rebellions, in the Great Dismal Swamp. I can't even leave these people out. The Farabee clan. One of those leaders in the Great Dismal Swamp Maroon rebellions and revolutions was this leader called Peter II. Peter II was named after Peter Legba. If you know who Legba is a ancient deity from the Yoruba system, Santeria system, and all spiritual systems, including voodoo. Specifically, voodoo. You know who Legba is. This guy was called Peter II. He was a voodoo priest that led slave rebellions here in West Virginia in the Great Dismal Swamp in Virginia and North Carolina. More evidence of the African presence in America, North America. And a lot of these African slave rebellion leaders, man, they always had an African traditional spiritualist leader with them in their rebellions. Go look it up. All the way from the Charles Dessalon, New Orleans, Louisiana rebellions, Denmark Vesey rebellion. All these people had comrades that were African traditional spiritualists. Even the Indian spiritual systems are manifestations out of the great original African spiritual systems of Africa. The African spiritual systems ain't nothing but African spiritual systems. Facts. How can you deny it? So I'm gonna sign off on that note. Haki Shakur, man. The African presence in North America. Free the land.